All right, thank you so much, David. And now here comes Andrew Bogat.
Okay, I'm pushing the wrong button. There's two green ones. Okay, I'm Andrew. I am in the technical engagement team. And I have a saltwater aquarium in my house, which I am not very good at taking care of. And so it is mostly covered in this kind of gloppy green algae that's just everywhere on every surface, covering up the coral, making a real mess. And the internet tells me that there's one kind of slug that lives in Florida that likes to eat the exact kind of algae that I have. And because we live in an age of miracles, I can send $50 to a guy in Florida, and he'll go and catch me some of these slugs and send them to me, which works. So now I've got these slugs. And they turn out to be beautiful and stylish and super interesting, and I became completely obsessed with these slugs, forgot about the algae, telling everybody about them, and now I'm telling you about them. Partly, I mean, you don't think about slugs very much, but these particular slugs are weird even for slugs and super weird for animals. So for starters, they're hermaphrodites, so when they do their business, it's very graceful and symmetrical. They do this nice kind of spirally thing for a really long time. There's a lot of negotiation and such. They part ways. Then a few days later, they do another spirally dance, and they lay this nice big spiral of eggs. The eggs sit around for a week, but then they don't hatch into slugs. They hatch into these other things, which are called veligers, which kind of look like little snails. They got shells, but they swim around in the water. They have these little cilia, and they just kind of swim around. And, you know, the Florida Keys is islands. They got to get from island to island somehow. So this is their opportunity to spread around. In my case, they're just swimming around in the aquarium, but in theory, they're getting carried around by the currents. And then after a while, they land, they ditch the shell, they give up swimming, and then they turn into these tiny little slugs. That's my finger, so you can get a sense of how tiny they are. So now my aquarium is full of tiny slugs, and their job is to eat the algae. Turns out that eating is also not exactly eating for these guys. And to explain that, we need background information. Okay, so 2 billion years ago, the only life on Earth is single-celled. You've got your producers on your left. Some are solar-powered, some are kind of living on volcano vents or whatever. And then you've got your consumers on the right, big cells that devour and digest other cells. Somewhere along the way, one of these consumers got confused, engulfed a green cell, but didn't digest it, and then they just kind of hang out together. And the green cell stays inside, it eats sunlight, it poops out sugar and oxygen. That works out great for the consumer. Everybody's happy. So that is what we now call a plant cell. The little green symbiote inside is called a chloroplast. That, as far as anybody knows, happened once, and that cell is the ancestor of everything that we now call a plant, including the gunky algae in my aquarium, which the slugs are supposed to eat. So again, I'm saying eat, and we think we know what eating is. If you're a goat, you eat plants, the plants get digested, they turn into sugar, you're all good. The slugs do this other thing. They eat the plants, but then they just dismantle the plant cells into little bits. And the chloroplasts don't get digested. They just kind of rattle around inside their stomach for months. And they're alive in there. They're dying, but very slowly. And they're still doing their job of turning sunshine into sugar. And that's what's called kleptoplasty, because the slugs steal the chloroplasts from the plants and enslave them. And now the slugs are full of active chloroplasts, kind of as though they're a plant, but they can't make new chloroplasts, so they have to go and get them every little while. So they eat like once a month. They spend all the rest of the time laying in the sunshine, just filling up with sugar without having to do any work at all. And that is why, all these months later, my aquarium is still super covered in algae, but also full of slugs. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew.